The night on the outer frontier was quiet as a thin veil of starlight shimmered over a barren ridge on the edge of human space. And a lone patrol officer named Rian moved through the cool air with a careful stride, his boots leaving soft tracks in the dust as he scanned the horizon for anything out of place. Knowing that the frontier demanded both patience and caution, for the unknown was never far, Rian had spent weeks monitoring silent zones where old sensors had picked up strange signals. Not hostile, not coded, just strange. As if someone or something were wandering along the edges of mapped space, watching, studying, maybe even waiting. And while most said the frontier had grown dull, Rian never believed it. Because the unknown always returned when people stopped expecting it one evening, he spotted a faint shimmer near a ravine, like light bending around something that shouldn't have been there. And his instincts sharpened as he approached slowly, keeping his hands open, aware that surprises on the frontier rarely entered calmly as he stepped closer. The shimmer burst softly into form, revealing a figure collapsing into the dust. Struggling to hold herself upright, an alien woman with pale, shimmering skin and eyes that glowed faintly with shifting colors. Unlike any species he had seen in the frontier records, she tried to speak, but her voice trembled. Strained, her breathing uneven, and Rian felt tension rise. Yet something in her eyes held no fear, only exhaustion and a strange plea. One he didn't understand, but recognized deeply. He lowered his guard and knelt beside her, offering water and a stabilizer patch from his pack, though he wasn't sure how her physiology would react. Yet she accepted the water, sipping with slow, careful motion, her hands trembling from fatigue and what seemed like a long period of running or escaping something unseen. Gestures and soft fractured sounds. She conveyed that she was fleeing from a threat. Not human, not from her own kind either, and she had nowhere else to go. Stranded by an accident that had broken her vessel far beyond repair, Rian understood enough to realize she wasn't a danger, but rather someone lost, desperate, possibly the first of her people humans had ever encountered. And though protocol demanded he take her to command, something felt wrong about forcing her into human custody in her fragile state. So he led her to a sheltered ridge, gave her warmth and supplies, and allowed her to recover in peace. She watched him with quiet wonder, almost confused by his decision to help without demand or expectation, as if waiting for a hidden cost that never came. And in the early hours before dawn, she rose, regained some strength, and placed one trembling hand on his arm. In silent gratitude, Rian understood her wish to leave, to avoid capture or interrogation by authorities who might see her as a threat. And he stepped aside, letting her go without asking her name, her origin, or her purpose, because not every meeting with the unknown needed to be claimed or controlled. She gave one last glance, soft and lingering, then walked into the rising light until her silhouette dissolved into the desert glow, leaving Rian alone with the strange quiet that follows choices made from instinct rather than duty. Command questioned him later about unusual signals, but he said nothing about the woman, offering only vague reports of shifting sensor echoes and harmless anomalies, and no one pressed further, assuming the frontier had simply produced its usual array of glitches and phantom readings. Days passed, and Rian returned to routine patrols, though the memory of the alien woman lingered. Her presence etched into his thoughts, not as a threat, but as a reminder that kindness could exist even across species. In moments where suspicion could have easily dominated some nights, he wondered if she had returned to her people or wandered deeper into the unmapped void, perhaps believing she would never see him again. And he felt a strange, quiet hope that she had survived whatever hunted her before. Then one morning, while he was checking an old comm relay near the same ravine where they had met, he felt the air shift around him, the same delicate shimmer touching the light, and he turned sharply, expecting danger, but finding instead the familiar figure of the alien woman standing with newfound strength and calm. This time, she was not collapsing or terrified, but composed, confident, her eyes glowing with steady colors that flowed like gentle waves, suggesting she had healed far more than he had realized during their brief encounter. She carried a small crystalline object in both hands, shaped like a smooth sphere, but layered with shifting lines of light inside, as if holding starlight suspended within a shell. And she stepped forward with slow, deliberate grace before offering it to him with a respectful bow. Rian hesitated, confused yet curious, as she gestured meaningfully, making clear that the object was a gift, an expression of gratitude for his help when she had nothing to give in return. Through soft tones and clearer words than before, she explained that her people valued acts of mercy above any others, and he had shown her a rare form of respect that crossed the boundaries of fear and protocol. Choosing compassion where suspicion might have prevailed, the sphere she offered was a piece of her people's knowledge, something they shared only with those they trusted deeply, containing encoded memories and insights that humans had never encountered. A bridge between species crafted not by negotiation or treaties, but by one quiet choice to help a stranger when no one was watching. Rian accepted the gift carefully, feeling its warmth pulse through the surface like a heartbeat, and he sensed instinctively that the object was more than a token, perhaps something that could change the way humans understood the galaxy if used wisely. The alien woman smiled subtly, her expression gentle and relieved, as if returning had been a risk she was willing to take only because she believed in him. Not in any institution behind him. She gestured toward the horizon, indicating that she must leave again, not because she feared humans, but because her journey was not yet complete, and there were places she needed to reach before she could ever stand among her people again without danger. Rian nodded, accepting her choice, knowing some paths must be walked alone, and he stepped aside once more, just as he had before, granting her freedom without condition, a gesture she seemed to treasure even more deeply. This time, before leaving, she touched the back of his hand lightly, a brief contact full of meaning, a silent assurance that their paths are now connected in ways neither species had expected. And with one final glance she vanished into the morning light, leaving behind a quiet breeze and the faint trace of shimmering. Rian held the crystalline sphere close as the day brightened, feeling its gentle rhythmic pulse, and he understood that he could not hand it over to authorities without losing the trust she had placed in him. So he hid it carefully, determined to study it in private, seeking ways to understand without betraying what had been entrusted to him. Over the next days, he discovered that the sphere reacted to thought, lighting gently when he concentrated, revealing shifting patterns that hinted at maps, histories, and technologies unfamiliar to any human record. And he began to sense that the object was less a fragment of knowledge and more a living archive, shaped by the consciousness of its creator. In the quiet of his outpost, he spent hours observing its luminous shifts, learning that its contents responded to his intentions, offering glimpses of distant stars, complex symbols, and flowing currents of meaning that felt like a new form of communication. Crafted without spoken words, he realized that the sphere was guiding him, not in a forceful way, but like a teacher offering gentle clues, encouraging him to understand what connected life across worlds instead of what separated them. The more he studied, the more he respected the alien woman's trust, understanding that she had not simply repaid kindness, but opened a door between two civilizations that had never met, allowing humanity its first gentle step into a larger and more interconnected universe. Wordlessly, he promised himself that he would honor that trust, refusing to let fear or ambition distort the quiet truth she had shown him. That compassion held a strength no weapon could match, and that the frontier was not only a place of danger, but also a place where new beginnings could be born. Weeks passed, then months, and he continued to guard the sphere, learning slowly, preparing himself for a future where humans would no longer be alone in the dark expanse. Guided not by conquest or suspicion, but by the simple choice to treat the unknown with humanity. Some nights he still wondered where she had gone, whether she had reached safety or discovered new dangers along her path. Yet he felt certain that her journey continued somewhere among the distant stars. Shaped by the same quiet courage that had brought her back to him with a gift born of Trustrion, stood often at the ridge where they had first met, watching the horizon with a calm sense of expectation, knowing that one day the shimmer of bending light might appear again, carrying her silhouette or the arrival of others from her world. Drawn by the silent bridge he now carried within the crystalline sphere until that day, he remained steady in his purpose, guarding the gift, protecting the trust, and honoring the moment when he chose kindness over caution. A choice that had changed not only one life, but possibly the future of both their worlds, for in the vastness of space, the greatest victories were not written in battles or conquests, but in the quiet acts of mercy that revealed the best of humanity, proving that even in the endless dark, a